Wonderful honour to actually be with you at the Big Day In event for Sydney, and I've decided to do things a little bit differently this year and have used a few Adobe products to put this presentation together. So see if you can work out which products I've used and tell me at the end of the session when we do the Q&A. Here we go. Well, hello, Big Day In. It's such a shame that I'm not able to be with you all face to face. Speaking at the Big Day In events around Australia is always a highlight. And I'm so looking forward to when we can all safely do these events again in person. My name is Dr. Tim Kitchen, and I work for Adobe as their Senior Education Specialist. The company Adobe was recently announced as the second most financially successful software company on the planet. How cool is that? Can you guess which software company was rated the most financially successful? No, it wasn't Epic Games, the makers of Fortnite, in case you were wondering, although they do very well. It was a company that you may have heard of before called Microsoft. Isn't that cool? Adobe is second to Microsoft in terms of global software sales. Well, I thought that was pretty cool anyway. My job at Adobe is to work with schools and universities around the Asia Pacific region to encourage students and teachers to enhance their digital literacy, communication, and creativity skills with the amazing Adobe applications that are now in just about every school and university across Australia and New Zealand. I used to be a teacher in Melbourne, and I taught Adobe tools when they were mainly just used in media, arts, and IT subjects. But now, there's a whole new range of Adobe applications that are very simple to use and are being used by students and teachers in all curriculum areas. Some of the apps are so simple that even school principals are using them. I get to meet thousands of students like you who are passionate about digital creativity. And some of them are getting so skilled with their digital tools that they're turning their passions into a job while they're still at school. And that's what this presentation is all about, encouraging you to think entrepreneurially. At Adobe, we get to work with some very interesting people. With the release of Lady Gaga's 6th studio album, Chromatica, Adobe have been partnering with her to challenge digital artists to use their creativity and bring their inner world of Chromatica to life. The digital artists were encouraged to use any of the following Adobe apps such as Photoshop, Illustrator, Fresco, which is a really cool free drawing and painting app, Adobe Spark, InDesign, and more to create representations of Chromatica with the hashtag LadyGagaXAdobe. Have a look at this amazing work from some very creative artists. The grand prize winner received $10,000 cash, a high quality print of their artwork autographed by Lady Gaga herself, and a 12-month Adobe All Apps Creative Cloud subscription worth about $1,000 Australian, which I believe is also on offer at this Big Day In event for one lucky student. Lady Gaga has worked very hard to have the success she is currently enjoying. When she was about your age, her name was Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanotta. At your age, she sang at open mic nights and acted in school plays to get experience and help develop her passion for singing and acting. She described her high school self as very dedicated, very studious, very disciplined, but also insecure. She considered herself a bit of a misfit, and she was teased and bullied. She had to work hard to develop her talent and her passion and went through some very difficult experiences. Lady Gaga is a great example of a young person who worked out what her passion was and turned that passion into an amazing career. Another interesting person we've been partnering with recently is the incredible Billie Eilish. Most recently, she's helped us promote the new Photoshop camera. She's created a series of filters that can be applied when you take images with this free app. Billy is another example of someone who turned her passion into a job at a very young age. Billy and her brother Phineas both discovered they had a passion for songwriting and recording, and they've both been really successful at turning their passion into a career. One of the great pleasures in my job is to visit schools and universities around Australia, Southeast Asia, and into the USA, and meet with students who are very creatively doing their schoolwork as well as turning their passions into a job. They're photographers, they're video makers, they're coders, they're graphic designers. They're not waiting to finish school or university and getting a formal qualification. They're setting up small businesses, small startup companies, and doing school at the same time. They're turning their passions into a job. During 2020, Adobe was involved in a study that looked at 2 million job advertisements and 2 million resumes across 18 diverse careers. We found that skills like collaboration, communication, and creativity are highly sought after by up to 70% of hiring managers. But only a small fraction of applicants feature these skills in their resumes or in interview conversations. Have you started building a resume yet? How creative is it? I know that when we're hiring at Adobe, a resume with a link to a video about the candidate making a case for why they should get the job is much more likely to get to the top of the interview list. When I was going for the job that I have now, I linked my resume to a video that I created, obviously, with Adobe Premiere Pro. This showed the hiring managers that I had advanced video literacy skills, and I was happily able to brand myself in creative ways. You see, employers are looking for potential employees who don't necessarily play lots of games, but are able to design and even code their own games. Employers are looking for potential employees who don't watch lots of YouTube, but have their own YouTube channel. Employers are looking for potential employees who show they work well with others and have strong collaboration skills. Employers are looking for potential employees who are creative. Employers are looking for potential employees who are resilient and don't give up when things get hard. And employers are looking for potential employees who are keen problem solvers. LinkedIn's 2019 Global Talent Trends report showed that 92% of talent professionals and hiring managers say that soft skills such as collaboration, problem solving, and creativity are just as important or more important than hard skills such as coding, typing, and other computer skills. You can teach hard skills on the job. It's much harder to teach soft skills. Soft skills are developed over time as you develop as human beings. In a recent study by Microsoft's LinkedIn, an essential tool for anyone looking for employment these days, and the World Economic Forum, which is made up of international business leaders and politicians, creativity was rated as the most in demand of all the soft skills, along with persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and time management. How's your time management going? I was working with a group of teenage boys from New South Wales recently, and one of the get to know you activities we did at the start of the session involved asking what their favourite TV show or movie was. A couple of the boys said they don't watch TV or movies. They don't have time. I was initially really impressed with their apparent dedication to their studies when the teacher jumped in quickly and said, yes, these boys spend most of their non-school time gaming, including much of the time they should be sleeping. The boys looked a little guilty, but not overly apologetic. You see, for them, gaming was everything. It was the way they expressed themselves, the way they networked, the way they persuaded others, and the way they demonstrated creativity and problem-solving skills. The problem was that gaming dominated so much of their time, they had very little emotional or physical energy for other parts of life, like school, like family, like friends who are not gamers, and other creative pursuits. Do you know how much sleep a teenager needs for their brain to function at its best? Researchers in multiple studies have narrowed it down to exactly an average of 9 hours and 23 minutes. That means that leading up to any form of test or examination, if you need to be awake at, say, 7:30 in the morning to start school at 8:30, you should be asleep at 9:37 p.m. the night before for your brain to work at its best and for your brain to be at its most creative. As you get older, you can manage better with less sleep, but while your brain is still developing, try to avoid sleep debt so you can develop as many skills as possible and therefore become so much more employable in the future. Speaking of jobs of the future, according to a study by Innovation Science Australia, an Australian student leaving school today is likely to have 5 different careers and, get this, 17 different jobs over their working life. Some of those jobs could be their own small business that they may have started or failed or sold on. Failure is not a bad thing necessarily. Failing is very closely associated with learning. It's much less painful to fail at a business at your age than when you're older with more responsibilities like a family and a mortgage. Unfortunately, our education system is, in general, still trying to come to terms with the concept that it needs to prepare students for a future of multiple jobs and careers. The education system that we have was initially designed over 100 years ago as we moved from an agrarian society as farmers into an industrial society predominantly as factory workers. And it made a lot of sense back then to be preparing students for a particular job and a particular career for life in the cities around the globe where most of the population were gathering and living. The concept of working towards an 8R score at the end of year 12 to get into a university course that will set you up for life is an old and outdated construct in the modern world. The reality is that when we employ our staff at Adobe, and I know this is true in a lot of other major workplaces too, especially in IT, we're not as concerned about what university degree you have compared to what type of person you are and how you demonstrate skills like collaboration, like communication, like problem solving, and most importantly, creativity. I'm not saying a university degree isn't important. Completing a degree, any degree, shows that you have resilience, you have communication skills, and you have perseverance. Just keep in mind that if you don't get the score you need to get into the degree of your dreams, it's not the end of the world. So, how can you stand out from the crowd and show off your skills and your passions to a potential future employer? Well, I'm very pleased to let you know that Adobe's amazing digital creativity tools are now available in most schools. And if you can't access Adobe's professional tools, you do have access to the Adobe Spark tools because they're totally free to anyone over the age of 13 and also free for under 13s if the school links Adobe Spark with their email ID system. If your school isn't already providing free access to Adobe Spark for all of their students and staff, look up spark.adobe.com/edu for more information. And share this link with your school IT admin department so that they can provide Adobe Spark for all students and teachers at no cost to the school. Adobe Spark is a great way to create flyers and posters and social graphics and infographics and video stories and even web pages to brand yourself in a creative way. The Adobe Spark tools are part of a set of what I like to call low-lift and high-impact apps from Adobe. There is a misconception that Adobe applications are all about high-end professional tools only for arts, media and IT subject areas. This is not the case anymore. In fact, I probably spend more time with English and humanities teachers these days sharing our low-lift multimodal text solutions like Adobe Spark and other low-lift tools that have high impact like Aero and Character Animator and Fresco and Photoshop Camera and Adobe XD and Photoshop Express and even the amazing Adobe Portfolio web solution, which is just awesome and available to anyone who has an Adobe Creative Cloud license. And of course, I love seeing what students and teachers are producing with Adobe's professional tools like Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign and Premiere Pro and After Effects and Audition and Adobe's new set of 3D tools, Substance 3D Stager, Substance 3D Painter, Substance 3D Sampler and Substance 3D Designer. So many ways to be digitally creative these days. If you need any help and support with Adobe's Creative Cloud tools, make sure you bookmark the Adobe Help Center via helpx.adobe.com. It's packed with beginner tutorials and tutorials for experienced users. Check out the Adobe Creative Cloud YouTube channel via youtube.com/Adobe Creative Cloud. It is packed with inspiration from experts like UI and UX designers, video producers, graphic designers, and others from around the globe sharing how and why they use Adobe's tools to create amazing designs, art, and media productions. For all teachers out there, last year we launched the Adobe Creative Educator program via adobe.ly/ACE. This is a program that is not focused on Adobe as such, but is focused on the importance of creativity in education. We had 15 professors, associate professors, PhDs and other education experts help us put this free course together, and we encourage all teachers to do it, even if they've never used an Adobe tool before. It's great professional learning. Before I finish with you, have a think about what soft skills and hard skills you can work on and develop to prepare yourself for your future, and how you could potentially turn your current passions into a job while you're still a student, and therefore make yourself as employable as possible in a whole range of current and future industries. Special thank you to the Australian Computer Society Foundation for all the work they do to put on these events. Thank you to all the teachers who organised for you to be involved in this day. And a special thank you to all of the students who are watching this for being involved and taking up this opportunity to hear from a wide range of industry representatives. Keep being creative. Oh, folks, hopefully you enjoyed that. The Q&A was going a little bit mad. I was watching some of those questions come through. There might be some key ones there, Lily and Geraldine, that you'd like me to address. A couple of them were interesting. One of them said that Dreamweaver doesn't exist anymore. Well, that's not true. It's still being used. It's still the industry standard for a lot of HTML and also JavaScripting, but it is pretty much our only application that actually requires coding. Everything else is not coding based. So what can I answer?
All right, thank you so much, Tim, for that presentation. I guess we'll give you your answer to the question you answered. You asked at the start of your presentation. So the audience has said Adobe Premiere Pro and Photoshop, as well as After Effects. Do you want to confirm if that's correct?
Yep, absolutely, except I didn't actually use After Effects. It might have looked like it, but everything I did there was within Premiere Pro and Photoshop. I used a bit of Adobe Stock to grab some of the stock images that I used. That weren't my own images, but that was about it. They were the only 3 Adobe products that I used to put that production together out of the 25 products that are in the Adobe Creative, 23 now that are in the Adobe Creative Cloud.
Wow, okay, very impressive presentation. Gotta say, I wouldn't be able to do that. Okay, so our first question for today is, how long did it take you to create this video?
Well, I scripted it on Friday week. That took about maybe an hour or so, maybe a couple of hours to script it. I filmed it on the Saturday after that. That took about an hour to film, maybe less, half an hour. And editing, probably, I'm getting pretty good at editing now. I use Premiere Pro a lot, so I'd say maybe another 2 hours to do the editing. So all up, probably about 3 or 4 hours over a long weekend.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Our next question today is, where do you think is the best place to learn how to use these Adobe products? I know you mentioned teachers in your presentation, but what about students?
Yeah, I put in the site helpx.adobe.com. That's the Adobe Help Center, helpx.adobe.com. That's a one-stop shop for any help, beginners guides to full-on advanced masterclasses on our products. It's a great source of support for anybody, students and teachers. For teachers, it's the Adobe Education Exchange, which is edx.adobe.com. And of course, I promoted the new Adobe Creative Educator program for teachers, and we're encouraging every teacher to do level 1. You don't have to know anything about Adobe really to do level 1 of the Adobe Creative Educator program.
Okay, great. And so our next question, which degree would you recommend to get into the type of jobs you talked about? So creating content through Adobe products.
Well, you don't really need a degree to create with Adobe. In fact, I see some of the best Adobe creators are still at school. As I mentioned, they're still studying. And I'd recommend, if you wanted to get really serious about using our products for graphic design, for journalism, for filmmaking, for television, for media, for any of those communications industries, is to look for communications degrees. That'll get you into those, and I work very closely, particularly in Melbourne, with RMIT and with Swinburne, and then a number of other universities around the place as well. But in New South Wales, there's lots of options there. Just about every course that requires some form of communication will be teaching you or be encouraging you to use Adobe products. But most of those courses, they do encourage you to develop those skills on your own. So if you can develop the skills while you're still at school, and because if you're a Department of Education student, you've got full access to every Adobe Creative Cloud application out there and you've had that for years. If you're an independent Catholic or a Lutheran school, it depends on the school as to whether you've got access, but everyone's got access to Spark, as mentioned, spark.adobe.com, because it's totally free. But I really encourage you to develop and learn your skills, your Adobe skills, while you're still at school, because at university, there's almost an expectation that you already have the skills when you go to university. And if you don't have those skills, you'll need to be using products like resources like helpx.adobe.com to develop those skills.
And I guess going off that as well, are there any other pathways aside university to enter the entertainment or creative industry?
It's all about your portfolio. It's all about what you have developed, which is why I encourage you to have a YouTube channel. Create as many films as you can. I love it when I go into schools and seeing what film festivals are being developed by the school to encourage their students to be filmmakers. I love it when they have coding programs to develop their students to become coders. Keep developing these skills now while you can, while you're a teenager, because it does get a little bit harder as you get older. But it's not about the university degree in that industry. Now, of course, if I was talking about law or medicine, then absolutely it's about the university degree. But in terms of the communications industry, it's about your portfolio. Having a degree is just the icing on the cake. It's really just showing what sort of person you are, in a sense of you can problem solve, you can collaborate, you can actually get through a task by going through and getting a degree. But it's your portfolio that is so much more important.
Right, and going off of the YouTube that you mentioned, do you create a lot of video content yourself, and do you use YouTube or post on YouTube?
Yeah, we've got our own Adobe for Education YouTube channel that I have a separate part for the Asia Pacific region. I do a show every second Wednesday night on YouTube, goes live out on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. That's for teachers. And I have my own YouTube channel as well, but I have my own Vimeo channel. I do a lot of video. I think video is the most important of the medias because it works with images and sound and moving images and still images. And I just love the concept of being able to communicate via video.
This kind of combines together with the coding. So what coding languages would be best to learn? And do you need to know how to code to use some of the Adobe products such as Dreamweaver?
Yeah, well, Dreamweaver, it helps if you know a bit of HTML or JavaScript, certainly, but every other Adobe application, you don't need to know anything about coding. What sort of coding languages to learn? I'd encourage you probably to be looking at Python, looking at Visual Basic, I suppose. Look, any coding language, if you can develop one language and develop skills in that language, JavaScript is a great example. That's probably a good way to get started too. It just shows you that you have computational thinking skills, and that's what we're looking for. Once you've developed skills in one particular language, say Python, for instance, it's not that hard to move across to other languages and develop because you've got those computational thinking skills. But please don't think that you have to be a coder to be in the IT industry. You don't. We're employing more people who are what we call customer success managers than we are coders at Adobe at the moment, because it's so important that we keep our customers happy so they keep wanting to use our products. And then we can develop our products further because we've got more customers. So it's not all about coding in the IT industry. It's about people.
All right. And going off that as well, would you say that not having a coding or programming background would be a disadvantage in the STEM pathways?
No, not at all. No. I think if you've got coding skills, that's fantastic, and keep developing those, and that'll make you very employable in certain areas. But if you're a people person, that makes you incredibly employable as well, as I indicated earlier. It's about developing a wide range of skills, and particularly those soft skills: collaboration, problem solving, creativity. And if you can develop some hard skills along the way, like coding, video editing, etc., then that's great as well. But focus on your soft skills, because they're the ones that we're looking for in young people as they're coming out of the education system.
Yeah, that's great. And so your final question for today is, since there's so many Adobe products on the market, which would you recommend to start off with?
Start with Spark. Spark is really simple, easy. Just introduce yourself to the world of graphic design, the world of making posters and web pages and videos. Move into our products like Rush. Premiere Rush is a great cut down version of Premiere Pro. But then get into the professional tools. Have a bit of a taste of Premiere Pro, what it's like. Have a look at After Effects and start developing those skills, because they're the products that are used at the highest level. Did you know that Marvel Studios, they choose Premiere Pro as their main editing software for all of their blockbuster films and their TV series? So if you can develop skills in working with something like Premiere Pro and Photoshop while you're at school, it's going to set you up for all sorts of opportunities in the future.
All right. Thank you so much, Tim, for answering those questions and your presentation, and all your insights and sharing your experience about IT careers.